Good morning. Thank you everyone for coming in today on this amazing Saturday, this brisk Saturday morning. My name is Franklin Cozy Gay, and I work at the Chicago Center for Youth Violence Prevention. And I just want to thank you all again for being here as a part of this series that's brought to you by the University of Chicago School of Social Service Administration and the Urban Education Institute. During these uncertain times, we understand that our parents and caregivers are struggling to balance work, childcare, self-care, and what's important for us is that we uplift our strengths that exist among our parents, that we uplift our strengths that exist among our caregivers, and that we coordinate to highlight the strengths. And today is the beginning of that opportunity. Thanks to the leadership at the School of Social Service Administration and Urban Education Institute, we have organized a series of free virtual events that aims to support parents and caregivers in managing the new normal. These sessions will draw on perspectives and experiences of social service practitioners, literacy experts, college administration officers and counselors, as well as what I'm really excited today is specifically the strengths of our parents and our caregivers navigating these challenging days. Today is the first of 5 sessions to support parents and caregivers. And today's session's topic is building a community of parents during a pandemic. We wish to highlight how a support squad of parents that have known each other for over a decade, beginning as a crew of 3rd grade parents at UChicago's charter school Donahue campus, and they've formed a special bond out of the necessity of being there for each other and understanding the strengths of cohesive togetherness when it comes to parenting. And it has transformed into a lifelong friendship. So I'm excited because you'll be hearing very little from me. I'm here to facilitate this conversation. But before we do this, there are a couple of things that I want to let you know. We expect this discussion to last about 30 minutes, and it will be followed by 15 to 20 minutes of Q&A from all of the participants. And again, thank you for being here. Some strategies that will encourage good discussion and understanding. 1, this program is going to be recorded and it will be posted on the Urban Education Institute website. All registrants will receive a follow-up email with a link to the video. Also, closed captioning is available and accessible by clicking on the closed captioning icon at the bottom of your screen. Also, we encourage everyone to please submit questions for our support squad that's going to be featured today, our panelists. The chat box will be limited to announcements from the meeting hosts. And finally, again, what are we looking to cover today? Tips for maintaining and building your village. How to have conversations that sometimes are difficult conversations with those that are close to you. And how do you seek help from your village when you get overwhelmed, particularly thinking about the current context that we're all in right now? And how do you become a demanding parent with your village and your school? So with that being said, enough about me. What I like to do now is open this up for discussion. I'm going to start off with introductions. I'm going to introduce one of the members from the support squad who I have had the honor and privilege of knowing for the past 5 years. Miss LaTanya, will you please introduce yourself? And then I just ask if you popcorn to other members of your support squad. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Franklin, for that awesome start. My name is LaTanya Hill. I am I am so blessed to be able to be a part of this squad that started at Donahue when our kids first entered and the school opened in 2005. And so I'm excited. A couple other, the other participants are Georgette Carter. Georgette, if you want to pop in.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Yes, welcome.
And then we have Nicole. If Nicole is.
I am here. Good morning.
Hi, that's Nicole Merritt, her daughter, Noelle. was just, I'm sorry, Georgette's daughter, Tyree, was one of the third grade parents. Nicole's daughter, Noelle, was one of the second grade then students. And then Leah.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Leah Wilson's daughter, Aaliyah, was one of the third grade parents. And then Artina.
Hello, hello. How are you?
Hi, Artina's daughter, Anitra, was then one of the third grade students. And so we are excited to be here. And thank you again, Franklin.
Forget Cleo.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cleopatra Cowley.
I was about to hold. You're like, are you serious?
I'm sorry. Her daughter, Hydea, was a third grade student there as well. And I don't know how, she's the lead of the of the parents. And so how did we get, don't block me, please.
She said don't blackball.
Did I forget anybody else?
I think you covered us.
No, that was the Power Squad. Thank you, ladies, again for being here. We understand that there are a lot of demands on everyone's time. So again, I want to thank you for being featured panelists. I also want to thank our participants for being here on a Saturday morning. We also understand the sacrifice that you're making, and I am very confident that you will be thoroughly enjoyed and enjoy this conversation, as well as be informed. So what was really striking for me, and speaking of strengths, is the fact that your bond goes back over a decade. And so what I like to do is just open it up, and I just want this to be a natural conversation. Keep in mind, we're gonna keep it to 30 minutes, but I want you to just, and don't go in any particular order, but just talk to me about how your village was established, particularly thinking about you had a school up to 400 other kids, other parents. How did you establish this village? How did you find one another? And did you guys have any existing relationships? Just break down that story to me. Thank you.
I'll start first.
Go ahead. Yeah.
For me, I had no relations with anyone prior to, and the way that I built my relationship with them, that village, is through my actual daughter. So whoever friends she was with, I made sure that I knew the parents. So for me, that's how I built that friendship. And because they continue to be a part of her life, and I love the ladies, I continue to grow from there. So that's my way of how I met them. So
I want to say that.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Cleo.
Go ahead, Nicole. You go, and then I'll go.
No. I would love to hear what you have to say, because I was going to piggyback and then bounce the ball in your court, because our relationship existed prior to Donahue, and Cleo and our daughters were at Providence St. Mel together. And so with that being said, the relationship with the other ladies formed for me just through the development, or I'm sorry, with the Donahue parent group. I mean, seeing other ladies and how amazing and supportive they were for their own kids. I mean, it was just someone, I had to get to know these ladies and develop that support. So Cleo, you and I developed a relationship long before, but it continued throughout this.
Yeah, it's crazy because like our kids, I can't tell you how much I agree with Leah's analogy too. I was one of those parents. I think we are all those parents that are like, no, who are your friends' parents? It's not just, this my friend, I'm about to go hang with my friend, and okay, go and come home. We like, no, honey, who's your mother? Who's your father? Who's coming to pick you up? And so because we already had an existing relationship, Nicole and I, by the time we got to Donahue and they started picking up more friends, I think it was just natural that you would want to see who the parents are. And then it turns out that like, we're all connected to the same folks. So we're building our village like with more people that are like-minded.
Yeah, I agree. So with us, with me and Ty, we relocated to Chicago. So, we had only been here for like a couple of years. And so going into, a new school and, not really knowing anyone, but it really was, I think we have awesome kids. And so they just gravitated to one another. And just like Cleo was saying, we're like, okay, well, who's your mom? And I think I just remember always seeing us picking up our kids or dropping them off or being there for an after school program or something. And then just, talking with one another and, and then them saying, this is my mom, because of course they always want to come and spend some time with someone. They know the rules. I gotta know the parent. And so, them just saying, this is my mom and you guys talk, we're going to go over here. And that's just kind of how we, formulated that as well. So,
But if you think about it, like I had to drive all the way to the west side to meet Nicole.
I remember.
We had to drive all the way to Donahue for me to meet you, just a couple blocks over. So it was crazy.
Yeah.
I also, Artina and I knew each other prior to, because our children were together at St. Sabina. And so we were in search of a really good quality school. And we had decided that we were done with paying tuition for school. We just knew that there was a free option that offered a good quality school program. And so once we heard about Donahue, Artina was the one who found out about it. And she gave us an update every day and then just said, like, go, we have to go apply, we have to get our kids in here. And so when we got there, like the other lady said, I think we were very, very drawn to each other because we had the shared interest of a good quality school program. We knew that the school was new and we did not want to not know anything that would affect our kids. And so we were super intentional about being engaged in the school and making sure that we were available to the school to partner and that we were having our needs that we wanted for our kids be met. And so I think it was a natural vibe because again, our kids were super attentive to the group that they hung with. And so it gave us that space to get to know each other much better.
And I think for us as well, we were such a participant in everything that went on in the school.
Yeah.
We were involved no matter what it was, even helping in the classrooms.
Yeah.
So there were times where, so we were just active and that helped to when you see each other and then, okay, you just start building from there. And we had a parent room to where we were able to go and just talk about whatever was going on that we may have concerns about or what we enjoyed. So that worked.
Thank you. Thank you, Leah. And so, thank you again for breaking down that the origin story of this connection that again, spans really between 10 and 15 years. And some things that I heard particularly is monitoring your children, knowing who they're hanging out with. And then that not being enough, I need to know their parents, right? I've heard things like be like-minded. I heard access to resources. LaTanya talked about the connection between Artina and her in terms of, we can't continue to pay for tuition. What are the resources that are available and how can they best meet our needs? So given that we are in a context like we're in terms of COVID and the impact that has had on remote learning, what I want to do is I want to hear about, given this core that you have, what recommendations do you have for parents with school-age children who are navigating remote schooling?
Thought about that question, Franklin, and Artina, we haven't heard from you, but I thought about that. And, and we talked to last night and we were saying that, our kids weren't in that position, right? So we're 15 years out, our kids have now graduated from college. But as I think about that, I still come back to the fact that the parent network is pretty much how you have to navigate in this environment. You have to have a support. And with these ladies, I think whether I can make a phone call to Leah, LaTanya, Cleo, Georgette, having that support group during this time is so critical, more so than when we had the network. I think it's even more critical now, having parents and children to connect with one another.
Thank you. Thank you. And let me hear from Artina for a little bit, Cleopatra, before we go there. And Nicole, thank you for uplifting that. Artina, what are your thoughts given, your connections, your personal connections with your group and that origin story, but how it applies to parents in the current remote learning context?
That's a very good question because we did talk this last night. And one of the suggestions, recommendations that I would give to parents in this COVID situation is to definitely go to the school, to those open houses, to those teacher conferences, and go in the office and meet the teachers, meet the parents, and develop a grade, like be the parent volunteer in the classroom. That's the best way to get to know other parents and get to know other students, right? Because your children are going to naturally gravitate to the students in their classrooms. Get to meet them, hang around, come to a meeting, invite yourself. You have to be inviting. You have to put yourself out there because all of you are in the same position, needing the same kind of things. So one of the things I always say, closed mouths don't get fed. If you don't tell me what your need is, right? I'm a parent too. I got that child who needs to have a friend or is going to be after school, or I might be running late or anything. But if you talk to other parents, you'll find out that you all are in similar situations and can be that support to one another. Because there's many a days that we picked up each other's children, or we would get a phone call, or we would get one of those things like, oh, your mama not here yet? Come on, call her. Because you come to find out we lived in close proximity of each other. So
thank you, Artina. So Cleopatra, I cut you off just to make sure that Artina was there, but I want to get back to you.
It's not. I'll let you have it.
Yeah. So check this out, Cleopatra. So Artina brought up, this important statement, closed mouths don't get fed. But a lot of the examples Artina provided are critical in terms of engagement, but don't necessarily work in the remote context because you can't physically be there. So help me understand how we shift to make sure that closed mouths do get fed in a remote context.
There's no way a closed mouth could ever get fed. It's just period. And so the fact that you're in a remote environment means that you have to shift what would have been in person to virtual. And so the same way there's an office physically, there's an office virtually, because everyone is in a time that has never been like this before. So I know principals are adjusting. I know teachers are adjusting. I know, there are other parents that are freaking out because, I was never good in math. I'm lying. I was always good in math. But I'm saying so they're really good in math. But again, the examples that Artina is using is like, hey, if I got a friend like Nicole, who's fantastic in math, then I'm going to say, hey, Nicole, can you, help my daughter or son with X? And then guess what? Maybe Nicole's like, man, talking to Leah and like, girl, do you know Cleo asked me to help with blah, blah, blah. Then guess what? The group gets larger because Leah's like, yeah, well, shoot, I needed that help too. And so what we're saying is, although you're on screen, you can still create these environments that are helpful. And again, with remote learning, sometimes it requires that an adult is present, right? Maybe you can't do it because you're also working remotely. Perhaps there's a parent who's not working during the time of those hours. They can step in and assist. So it's just, everything Artina said is absolutely critical. It just has to be adjusted for the current time.
Yeah. And I agree. I think sometimes, too, just working with the school to say, hey, let's set up a parent Zoom, where we have a parent support group, where we can, the school can help to navigate that, where the school can, help to bring those parents' emails and, send that out to say, we're doing a parent support group, come and just let it flow from that way. And that's one of the things that I loved about Donahue is that they had so many of those type of programs and so many, as Leah said, they had a parent center where parents could just come and just chill out or wait for their kids. And they had resources, in that parent center. And so I think when schools begin to forge, schools can help to forge those type of villages like we have in those environments too, by, again, putting out those parent, support groups. And so I think if your school has one of those, to definitely become a part of it.
But you know what? We also are a bunch of A-types. Let's not forget that. And so, the things that they didn't have to, tonight, stop laughing at me. The things that they didn't have, we created too. We were like, hey, we need this, we need that.
Yeah.
Like, it's been really working out. But the most important part was that we loved where we were. It was definitely feeding our children and creating these little young people with brains that had like thoughts about what it is they wanted to do with this. When I tell you, the whole experience was just amazing. So we wanted to, help perpetuate that, but then we also needed a place where, if we had some concerns that needed to be voiced, that we could talk with other parents to see if it was just me or if this that we need to talk about as a group.
Yeah, I think it's important to not undervalue the amount of support that we had from the school to feed our relationship. It was definitely a space that encouraged not only our growth, but our kids' growth. And to Cleo's point, like our kids gained so much agency that they became demand kids. Yeah. Just from being in our company and in our spaces where we're talking about the things that we want for them. And their ability to relay it and to see it through in the school, but they were supported in being able to get their needs met. We were supported in being able to get our needs met. And so it definitely is valuable when the school that you're in supports that kind of a dynamic. And it's always something that everybody in the community benefits from. But again, to everybody's point, the biggest thing is you make yourself available so that when you need, that space is available for you. And so the more you are putting yourself out to be a support, the more support will come to you. And so if there's no other tip that I could give to parents, it's just that when you're able, give, and when you are not able, you'll have that space to receive.
Thank you.
Don't be afraid to receive it.
Yeah.
Because some people, they hold back and like, well, I don't want to think that I can't do or whatever. Mm-hmm. No, accept it, because that's how you build. We learn and we support one another. So no judgment at all.
Thank you. So we have about 10 more minutes before we open it up to Q&A. And I know the time is flying by. I really wanted 4 hours with you guys, but they said, hey, this is Saturday now. Hey, so, I love what we're saying. It's, Leah, you mentioned the importance of being able to receive it. LaTanya, you talked about it. In essence, the best ability is availability, right? And so given the connections that you guys have, and feel the love, feel the fact that you guys are a close-knit group, I'm sure that there have been disagreements over the years. And considering that there's no stability right now, we're divided in terms of what we should do. We've heard about, I believe that maybe it was Cleopatra, or actually maybe you, Leah, talked about, well, if a parent can't be there, maybe a parent can help watch someone. We're being pulled in terms of what we can do in terms of social distancing or not. And so what that brings about is conflict, right? How do we handle conflict, right? We're being pulled in different directions on what we should do. Many times we feel like we're doing the right thing, but society shifts. We're currently going through a shift right now because of the surge in cases. So help me understand, you guys have known each other for 15 years. I'm sure that there's been conflict that's happened within the group. Help me understand how you've been able to deal with disagreements over the year. How does a village resolve conflicts between the parents, but also between the kids?
So for us, we really haven't had conflict. And the reason for that is because we accept each other for who we are, because each one of us has an individual strength that we can use and our children can have a support with. So unless someone else knows more, so feels anything different.
Time in here, Leah. So one of the things that we prided ourselves about doing was truly being the parent, right? So meaning that parents had parent conversations. So if it was an issue with our children or with the school, we as adults, we as the parents came together and discussed what the issue was. And then if it was an issue with our child, we dealt with our individual child and then brought it to the rest of the group, right? So then if it was an issue at the school, because one issue I can point to, and you guys remember this, is when they were in 3rd grade and they were learning multiplication and division, right? The school opened and they were learning algorithms, and then some folks was learning division the old school way, like borrowing and carrying, and they were learning algorithms. Well, half of our kids knew it one way and half of the kids knew it the other way, and they were all kind of crazy. So what did we do as parents? We came together at a PTO, at a parent meeting, and said, hey, your kid's struggling with this math because mine's struggling with this math. And we took it to the school. And the school, you know, had that conversation with us and came to okay, we're going to teach this, we're going to teach this, we're going to teach this, and then offered to teach us how to help our kids. So in terms of difficulties or something like that, we addressed it as the adult, took it to the school, and the school helped us problem solve. And then if it was like a kid issue, I have to honestly say we never had any kid issues, right? Like our kids kind of meshed and melted and are still friends today.
And it's like siblings for them. So whatever issues they had, you all take care of it and handle it, you know, because they're siblings, sisters and brothers, you know. And like I'm going to piggyback real quick. It's very important that when we did have something going on with the school, we had someone that said, you know what, let's sit down. Mr. Barnett, and he was truly a blessing to us because he actually wanted to improve. He actually was listening and dealing with whatever we brought to him. And I mean, whatever was brought to him, he was like, okay, let's sit down, let's talk. So it really helps when you have someone in the school that's that person that can say, okay, I'm listening. What can we do? What can we change? Because it's not just for my child, it's for all the children and those to follow behind. And that was my biggest thing for me. So.
Yeah. No, and I'll piggyback off of what Leah was saying in terms of from our kids' perspective and the administration's perspective, but within our own group, like Leah said, we didn't really have a lot of challenges, but I think there have been times where I may have fell out of the group in terms of not communicating as much because life gets the best of you, right? And you have your kid doing something a little different than the rest of the group. And so with that being said, though, there was always someone in the group that would always reach back out and say, hey, how are you doing? How's your child? You know? And so that to me is what I most appreciated about each and every one of these ladies, is because each and every one took a special interest, not just in the children, but in each other's vested, you know, well-being. So I appreciate that from a parent network.
And I also go ahead. No, Tanya, go right ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that I think that everyone's being nice. Leah does not allow.
Thank you. Okay,
he's the peacemaker.
I think we all have unspoken roles in the group, and Leah is the mother of the group and the person that if you dare to try to disconnect or dare to fall off of the group and not fulfill your responsibilities to us and to our kids, she's going to be the person that lets you know that you have a limited amount of time to kind of get it together before she comes to your door, COVID or not. She will put on a hazmat suit and be at your door and say, listen, now, you know, you gotta. So I think it helps to have those people.
Thank you. And so, you know, you have that connection, you have the force of, you have the diversity of the group. You have kind of an ebb and flow where folks there are different things that we go through, different life events that happen that impact us, but also having a key person to kind of keep everyone going. Before I go to the last question, before we open it up to Q&A, Leah, tell me about what are some characteristics that help keep a group cohesive over time?
Ooh, you're asking me. Okay. So for me, it's very important that first and foremost, communication. Okay. Communication is key. And with communication is listening, because you want to hear what's being said. Now, say if LaTanya came to me and we're just talking, just having, hey, how's your day? Blah, blah, blah. And if I hear something, if I'm listening to her and I may hear something, you know what? She's been having a problem, and not saying this is the situation with her, but she may need a little assistance with XYZ. You know what? Let me reach out to Cleopatra or Georgette. Well, Georgette now is in a different state, but still conversation wise, she can either Zoom or something like that, to where, you know what? I was talking to LaTanya, just seeing how she was doing, and she's got some things going on. So communication and listening. And I think for us as well, for that, it's just being available. Even when I'm working, I'm available, they know I'm going to always be available because their child is my child. So, and if they're having something that's going on, I'm going to be there to pick up whatever needs to be picked up. So
thank you, Leah. So you said their child is my child, and my last question is specifically related to the child, your children. And thank you again. You mentioned communication, listening, and then through that listening, kind of understanding what needs are and connecting them to address those needs, whether they're emotional needs, whether they're physical needs, and then again, consistency around and persistent availability. But you mentioned their child is my child. So what I like to do to close before we open it up for Q&A from our participants, and again, thank you everyone for being here on the Saturday morning. You have known each other for 15 years. What do your children have to say about your bond and what that bond means to them?
I actually asked my daughter not long ago, and I said, well, what do you feel about this connection? She's like, I think it helped develop who she is as a college graduate. I think it helped develop her relationship with these ladies, and that she knows I have support if I needed to. So I think she thought it was a way that she was developed in her child rearing years, is that she had development through this network, you know? There was different things that I gained from each relationship that I was able to implement in raising her.
I also asked Aaliyah, my daughter, and she stated that she felt good in school because she knew if I wasn't there, she had someone else there that she can go to that can assist. And it also helped her now graduate to where they can build their own village. Mm-hmm. And that's, keep that going and continue to pass it on or pass it forward.
Leah, I have to piggyback on that because when I'm talking to Anitra and Ashley, because Ashley was always the little sister. She was always the tag along, right? But now both of them have that kind of, I want my friends to be like that. I want to have friends that I have since I was in 3rd grade now. And so they actually cherish what they saw, what we in essence modeled for them on how to be a friend. What does a friend look like? They kind of learn that from what we saw. And my daughters think it's pretty cool because she's, they keep up with each other. And that's an excellent thing. So they were just on the phone and Nietzsche was just like, oh, I need to, tell Miss Maxwell to send me such and such number. Yeah, I lost Leah's number. Where her mama? Tell her. So it's like they see them as an extension of me and like an auntie, another mom, or they never have to worry about not having someone somewhere. So
yeah, I agree with that. It's nothing I have gotten on my birthday, Mother's Day, text messages from from everyone of these kids saying, Miss Carter, I hope you had a great day. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know you had my phone number. So, I mean, it's like we're family. And I know that Tyree will fight, claws will come out for any of these parents. For her, she will have their back at any time. Do not mess with anybody on this panel when you are in the presence of Tyree, because she will go for the jugular for these parents. So that's, yeah.
I can't. I'm gonna say every year.
Are you talking?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
You hear me? Okay, good. So it is very endearing to me to listen to everybody talk about where they are right now. I'm the only one here, who has met the misfortune of what Chicago has to offer from time to time, and that is violence. So what is so wonderful for me is to see this group of women who still have their family fully intact because, they don't have to bear like the sadness that I do when I see the joy in their faces, And so like I talked to Tanya about this. And I said nobody was gonna be crying on this dang on thing, but I just have to talk in truth. Y'all know I talk in truth. It warms my heart, dreaming that I would be in the place that these women are, right now with their daughters, you know, because I don't have mine. And I carry the burden of trying not to be a Debbie freaking Downer, you know, because emotionally behind the scenes, I'm longing for myself, right? But I also have, I had 2 children. So I have my son who this year I get to celebrate, you know, graduating from high school, but also being challenged by the pandemic. So although we all started our journey outside of the pandemic, it's ironic that we're all kind of ending our educational journey, so to speak, during the pandemic. So, you know, a lot of our children have, you know, college that has been compromised and things of that nature. So I just want to say that, like, yeah, all of our children like have a definite brother-sister bond. Like all the girls pick up Junior as their little brother. They call on him, they come pick him up, they make sure he's good, you know. So it is not just a family of function. It's definitely a family of dysfunction, a family that has had to, you know, bury a child too. And I'm saying, when they say my child is your child, everybody here has definitely made sure that, you know, at one time or another, that the other mother was okay. And so, yeah, I just had to say that because I was gonna bust y'all. Jesus, I'm glad I wear glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Cleopatra, for sharing.
Yeah.
We truly appreciate that as a facilitator. And I know your squad clearly has had your back for a long time. And so related to that, I appreciate you bringing up the reality of what many families have been exposed to, and that's loss. And, you know, thank you for sharing that. And, you know, hearing that from other parents in terms of being able to develop who they are because of what you guys have done together, that another parent, if that child is not there, they go to another parent. If that parent is not physically at the school or there, they don't necessarily have to go right to mama. They can actually talk to their other squad moms, and then modeling that, and then seeing how the squad are all, their children are siblings for your son, Cleopatra. And given what Cleopatra stated, you know, I just want to go one more question before we go to Q&A. Let's raise, Cleopatra brought up the fact that loss, and we know that unfortunately we live in a city and we live in a nation where this is unfortunately a daily event. So in what ways, Latanya, Georgette, Leah, Artina, were you able to provide support in your own way to help build up Cleopatra through this?
For me, I am all in for everything. So my time, it's just focused on that individual, whatever their need is. So if she just needs to scream or shout out and just have a listening ear, I'm going to be there. I don't care what time of the day, night, morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm there. But that's just my nature. That's my role. And as we said, we each have roles. That's my role, because if you need groceries, and you can't cook for the family, I'll be there. You know, whatever you need. If you just need, I'll check on you. Okay, you know what's going on? Okay, I'm going to pass it on to the other parents. You know, I'm going to pass it on to the group. So you don't have to have so many calls, but at least everyone is updated on whatever is happening in the life, you know. But that's my role. Everyone has a role. So for that, Cleopatra keeps us laughing. She keeps us going. So when you need that uplift, you know, she does. She'll keep us rolling for sure. So
Franklin, I think it's important though, as a parent, to acknowledge that parenting is hard. Like, I don't think it didn't come with the book. We all, you know, that cliche is real. This thing is something that requires a village. Any relationship, I won't even just say as a parent, but any relationship requires a cultivation, and that everybody brings something to the table that supports one another. We are not always in the space where we can give, but we know that if we ask, if if I know that Nicole needs something and I can't give it, I'm gonna go. And we've throughout these questions, it comes up. I'm gonna go to Leah and say, I sense that Nicole needs this. I'm not able to give it right now. Can you check on her? And so the need is still being petitioned, and it's still guaranteeing to be met, because we know that there are gonna be losses. There are gonna be things that happen that will shake us all to the core. And having that support when you know that you're not necessarily able to carry yourself is so reassuring. And so it's important that you build that, so that when those times come, you know that you have that foundation in friends.
Franklin, I just want to add here, I'm kind of a historian for the group. So, right, when we were in 3rd grade, right, that school was new, it was open, and I was that parent that was there every event with the camera. Mm-hmm. So literally, I have pictures in the hallway, first day of school, 3rd grade, first day of school, 4th grade, first day of school, 5th grade. And when they went over to the middle school, right, pictures with principal, first day of school, so of their students, right? Tanya's the only mom on here who had a son, but all of the girls were all cheerleaders together, right? My older child and Georgette's older child went to high school together. Tanya's youngest daughter and my youngest daughter went to high school together, right? So we overlap each other's children. So not just our 3rd graders are in it together, like our other children are, like, we are meshed. But I have pictures, like I'm the historian and I have pictures. And when those hard times come, hey y'all, guess what I ran across? And I'll send that picture and it'll take them right back to that moment. It'll take them right back to that, right? And those are things that just, they're organic. You can't script that. You can't, right? It's just, we're there. We know those moments. We share those moments. And even when words it's not words sometimes that can express or cover how you're feeling, but we feel it. Does that make sense to you?
I want to just, thank you, again, uplifting the strengths. We thought it was important to start this series with this particular group, because if we're talking about parenting and caregiving, particularly in this context, we need to talk to our foremost experts, and that is our parents. And it's not done individually, it's done cohesively. So I want to, thank you all again for taking that time. I also want to I don't want to get in too much trouble. I want to leave some time to get to questions. So at this point, I want to ask a guest. There are some questions that came through beforehand. I can read those off, but I want to give our guests that are on right now the opportunity, if you would like to turn on your video, and if you submit a question via chat, then turn on your video and please ask the question. I'm going to start with one that was submitted online via the Eventbrite, and that is specifically around, they need practical tips, step by step, on how to build a parent community when everybody's learning from home.
I'm gonna do a really quick step 1. You have to, what Artina did, you have to create a group text messaging. It has been so effective for this group. So I think that's the number 1 thing. And everyone has a cell phone, so you can create a group text message.
Thank you, Nicole.
I would like to piggyback off that and say, you know what, why don't you just start with, like, you can have a parent Zoom, you can have there are a lot of different technologies that exist so that they can even build a relationship to then want to branch outside of that group, because they found things that are similar. So definitely just use the technology that everyone has access to right now, to establish like a method for communicating, because right now people are just voices. Right? So you can create an environment where you can see faces, you can start to build relationships that way.
Well, Cleo, I might want to add, because I'm working in the school system, right?
Yeah.
So if this was back when our babies were, and this remote had happened, this had happened when we were when our babies were there, I would have went to Ms. Randolph. I would have went to one of the teachers and been like, hey, I need to get in touch with some of these other parents. Can you send my email? Can you send my phone number and ask them to reach out? That's what I would do. So one of the first steps that I would do is I would go to my child's teacher, administrator, or whomever, and say, hey, put yourself out there. Can you send my number? Can you send my email to the parents of my child's class and ask them to reach out so that I can connect with them? Right? Because if we're all third graders or all fourth graders, they all got that same math, that same language arts, that same whatever assignment that they may be struggling on. Can you send my information out so that a parent can reach out to me? That might be one of the first places that I would start, is to reach out to the classroom teacher to send my information out to other parents.
Thank you, Artina. And I have a couple of questions that come through the chat. So I don't mean any disrespect, but I want to make sure that their questions are being asked. So this one comes from Yolise Cantu, and says, regarding text groups, how can we create a positive environment? Sometimes parents use these kind of groups to criticize teachers and administrators so badly that it puts the group in silence. What are your thoughts?
Kick them out. I mean, you have to build rules. You know, this is a different time. We don't play those games. And what I mean by that is, like, you've been asking about the nature of our relationship, and you guys feel free to talk over me. Y'all know who I am. But the reality of like how we're able to deal with one another is the fact that we deal with each other in truth. You know, so we're all vocal. We're all like I say A-types, but we all speak up. And it's so funny because Leah thinks she's not, but she really is, because she keeps us right together. But you have to establish a series of rules. And if the rule is we're going to have this and we're going to create this environment so it's a safe space for everyone to talk about education and about what we need, the needs of our children, and we're not going to do any bashing, then we're going to create space, and we're not going to create any bashing. And so those people have to go. If they're toxic, they can leave, and that's just how it goes.
And
I think if
go ahead, Latanya.
Oh no, I was just going to say, if the group is collectively cohesive and that is a rule, then those that are toxic to the group will typically fall off, in the sense that they are not going to be comfortable in the space if that's what they are interested in. But I do think that it's important that we also listen to those parents, and so that we can then kind of help them flush out how to solve the problem in a way that is productive for everybody involved. And so I don't think it's necessarily a strict, like, just kick them out, in the sense that but I know what you meant,
right? Like
you know, yeah they'll weed themselves out, or they'll become more skilled at how to get the problem solved without that kind of energy.
Thank you. So we have about 3 more minutes, and I just need to have a closing remark really quickly, and we have 2 more questions. And maybe, I know, Leah, you had something to say, so I'm going to direct this question to you. And it kind of ties to where you're going a little bit. Can you share some qualities or personalities of the teachers that have supported your village?
Claudine.
Oh, plenty. So starting with Mr. Barnett.
Oh, yes.
Listening ear, patience, because you got to have patience with all of us, because we have a voice. We're going, we're going to speak up and speak out if something's happening. But I mean, patience. So Mr. Barnett was truly a glue to help the village. When we wanted to create the parent room, he was there. That parent room was created to where we could sit and discuss things. Whatever time we wanted to have a meeting, he made himself available. I can go with Miss Randolph. Miss Randolph was amazing teacher. Now, she was a teacher, but she was there. She kept in contact, whatever needed to be done. If there was something going on, she notified us for us. So it really played a big part, having great teachers, and then administration like Mr. Barnett, who just was there willing to make a change or assist. If anybody else wants to chime in.
I just think some the teachers, well, they were empathetic, right? I think they were excited. And again, we were like that first class, right? So they were excited they were excited, I think, to have parents that wanted to engage with them on a level like, hey, I want to be, tell me what you need me to do. What you need, tell me. So they were really open to receiving the support from the parents, which I thought was really, really an awesome thing, because we were like, these my babies now. What you doing? These my babies. Come on now, right? So we were those parents. We weren't helicopter parents, but we were very engaging and involved parents.
Thank you. Thank you. So next question, and it seems like that it's directed, and there are two more in, so I'm going to try to get to you, and thank you all for your patience. This is from Mr. Chuck Lewis, and this is also a theme from other groups, that how fabulous you guys are. So first of all, thank you guys. Thank you for sharing your experiences. That's coming from many different people on the chat. But question was how it's working at Donahue now. And I'm going to merge this with another question that it's gratifying to hear that Donahue has been supporting families. Can you think of other schools that could better support parents? In other words, what was the helpful thing that your child's school did for parents to build Village? So two things, how is Donahue right now? And then for other schools, just real quick things that would help parents build Village.
Yeah, so I think I'll chime in. Donahue remains to be that kind of space. Consistently, parents feel like when they walk in, their family. There is a policy that there is an open door, and that what you have to say is important. Parent voice is critically important in decisions that are made. They are always welcome and always encouraged to have a seat at the table whenever there are, again, decisions being made or initiatives started. We started on that concept, and we are still there as a school. Donahue remains to be that space, and I definitely feel like it's something that is throughout the network, because our kids had that same experience when they went to the middle school. So it wasn't something that just started at Donahue and trickled. But I do think that, again, the agency that the parents built that started at Donahue was able to carry it on to the other school. And so it's not solely the responsibility of the school to create that environment. While you want to make sure that whatever school your child is in has that as a culture, you want to make sure that you are also a participant in building that culture. And so you are equally responsible in making sure that you know what it is that you need for your child, and that you are petitioning the school for that. Yeah. Again, we didn't start off with the parent center. We didn't start off with a lot of the things that, where parents were being taught the same math that the kids were being taught. Those were things that were that we asked for based on what our needs were. And we identified those administrators, those teachers in the school that had our best interests, and we petitioned them together to create that space. And then it just became a foundational culture of the school. And so it's possible to happen anywhere. If there are enough people invested, enough stakeholders at the table that have that same mindset and can push the initiative forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm going to close out with a statement that was made, a positive statement that was made by someone in the chat named Joanne Vina. Basically, thank you for the acknowledgement of the power of the group, support of all levels of engagement with the school, child development, and personal loss. We want to give it up for you guys. Let's raise the roof. Let's clap it. Let's shout it out. Thank you very much. And what I want to do is remind everyone, this is the beginning. We have 4 more series. This Tuesday at 5 o'clock Central Standard Time, we have a session called Navigating the College Application Process from Home. And then after that, we have another session on November 10th, Reading Out Loud with your child, enjoying each other, literacy during the pandemic. Third session, Balancing Screen Time with Staying Active and Getting Rest. That's going to be in November 17th. And then finally, we're going to end off right before the holiday, how parents support social and emotional learning at home. That will close out. All of the following events are going to be Tuesday at 5 p.m. Again, this coming Tuesday is around the application process. I want to thank our panelists again for sharing your stories, your personal stories that span over 15 years. Thank you everyone that gave positive feedback for the chat. I wish I couldn't, I wish I had an opportunity to uplift it all. Everything was overwhelmingly positive. Thank you guys very much. May you all have a beautiful and safe weekend and a close out to 2020. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You.